It is the dawn of the final day. Our stream series comes to an end. Today, it is either kill or be killed, conquer or be conquered, do or die. Will we finally come together to defeat ASHNARD once and for all? Or is this going to be the first co-op season where we actually fail to complete a Fire Emblem game? Welcome back to Fire Emblem Co-op Path of Radiance Edition. For the last time. We're starting off today with Chapter 28, which is the chapter with all of the Lagoos that Izuka has turned into insane creatures. At this point in the run, we're far past the need for detailed battle preparations or assigning bonus EXP, but we do our best to finish off what EXP we have left and make sure our units have the weapons that they truly need. At the start here, I propose that we give Resolve to Bastion for the fun of it. He's running a physical build, and I thought it would be funny to put it on him since it'll boost his killing potential if he's below half HP. But the Shade Council in the chat makes a fair point, saying it will mess with the AI there, and so I opt to give it to Ronolf instead. Speedy forged a big Thunder Tome for Ilyana, and this is the first time that I've noticed that you can't even forge the higher level tomes in this game all the way into the late game. They really have something against mages in this one. Anyways, we start the chapter and get the show on the road. Of course, we have Tabarn with us here, and we just let him roam free and do whatever he wants. I also bring Soren to this battle because why not? Unfortunately, at this point in the game, there are very few things that are actually threatening to our units, and so I position my units without a second thought, and immediately a tiger breaks through the rank and does some considerable damage to my Soren. I guess I should have checked ranges and things like that to make sure. Otherwise, we slowly make our way over to the center of the map where all of the action is, dispatching the Siege Tome Sage with little issues on the way. Once we get there though, a second issue starts to rear its ugly head. Not only are there some really bulky and strong red dragons on the map, but there's also a Sleepstaff Bishop as well. He puts both Kieran and Ronolf to sleep, and with Leith untransforming shortly after, I end up just not being allowed to play the game. Luckily, Tabarn wasn't too far behind and came in for us to help clear out some of the hard enemies, including that Sleepstaff Bishop. Jay and Speedy end up tag teaming around my units, who are forming a natural choke point, and they break through the enemy ranks into the empty space in front of the boss. The only problem is, there are a bunch of reinforcements here that slowly close in around us, and they take their time dealing with them and even get a few yellow flash kills while we're at it. Sadly, and unfortunately, Speedy states that he's trying to stay in wrath range for Nephany, and while he's out of range of almost everything, the only thing that can target her is the boss with a siege weapon. And of course, on enemy phase, he targets her and she goes down immediately. Negative 25 points to Speedy, and a death in a spot that we really didn't expect to happen. I'm really not sure how it happened. I guess in my mind, I thought the range that was marked on the map was including the boss range and not just the dragon range, and Speedy hadn't realized that the boss was using bolting despite having targeted Tabarn earlier. Either way, we've lost yet another squad member prior to the final chapter, and at this point, we needed all the help that we could get. At some point, my Kieran ends up waking up, so he can charge right back into battle, but by then this map had almost been completely solved by the combination of Speedy, Jay, and Tabarn. They didn't even really need me for this one. Shortly after that, the boss very quickly gets put down by Ike, who has now leveled up probably about 5 or 6 times, with none of them giving him a strength level. And that's a wrap for the map. Jay gets the points for the objective, and we notice that going into the final chapter, it's going to be Speedy who gets Ike, and with that, we're going to be using Gifka as our assistant, if we're able to get past Phase 1 ASHNARD, that is. Despite what I said about the preps in the previous chapter, the preps for the final chapter are extremely important. In order for us to get past ASHNARD, I have a feeling that we're going to need a lot of healing. Despite us having 3 staff users at this point who can use the physics staff, ASHNARD's very long range means that it's going to be rather difficult for us to keep them in safety range while he's chasing down Ike. So instead, in the spirit of making sure that this run is successful, I decide to be rather generous and spend over half of my fortune on elixirs and distribute them to the team, with a total of 9 elixirs on Ike alone. Considering his strength is on the lower end, He did end up getting Ether in the last chapter's preps, and it'll probably be the only thing that allows him to kill ASHNARD since he'll only be able to tank him on enemy phase. Outside of that, we have no more preps to make, and we make sure everyone's weapons are topped off and ready for the final fight. Lucia and Bastion also achieve their A support. The final chapter starts, and we each decide to take on a different part of the map. I take on the task of rushing straight upwards to battle the toughest of the enemy forces, while Jay goes right with his group and Speedy takes the left-hand side. Right out the gate, we end up with a bit of a positioning nightmare and a Shade backfire. I know we've talked about Shade AI at length, and the conclusion is that if the Shade unit was within lethal range, then enemies would still target them, rendering Shade useless. And, just like that, Speedy had left our beloved yellow streak within range of a cat Lagoose that was just barely fast enough and barely strong enough to double and kill Bastion as he goes down. Speedy loses his second unit of the stream for another -25. At this point, I'm immediately lamenting not giving him Resolve, as it would have procced mid-battle and prevented that cat from doubling him and probably triggered a pretty badass interaction overall. But it just wasn't in the cards for us to have him survive this run, sadly, regardless of how much we were having fun with him. For that, we thank you, Bastion, for your entertainment. Forever in our hearts, the yellow streak. On the next turn, I managed to take out the Siege Tome Sage and immediately choke point the top, preventing the onslaught of enemies from pouring through into our back lines. Leith and Ronolf proved to be a very effective duo, as they also slowly siphon away the paladins from that top area down the left-hand side and kill them off to thin out the enemy units. Speedy's units also do relatively okay holding down that left-hand side, but on the right, Jay's actually struggling immensely to take down what is now a large group of enemies, including a Deadeye Sniper, a group of ranged halberdiers, some generals, wyverns, and a group of swordmasters. It's honestly kind of an awkward position because Ike was a bit out of reach, and with my units being so far away, it was very hard to try to get into position to help him without the rest of the map crumbling. Speedy sends Ike to assist on the right-hand side, but Jay, out of desperation, rushes Lucia up top to hold off some of the units on her own for a turn. Unfortunately, because of parity, she can't exactly take cover inside those bushes, and she ends up not being able to survive against a pair of Wyvern Lords and a group of Swordmasters, and she goes down. This ends a pretty legendary run by this Lucia that isn't normally seen in a Path of Radiance playthrough. I guess she wasn't able to tolerate the death of her A support yellow streak. At least now they will both be together in heaven. -25 points to Jay. With all those units now threatening to break into the fountain area in the middle, as well as our back line, Ike is quickly sent over there to deal with them, as well as Enna being pulled into the middle. I continue to do my best in holding off and killing enemies coming in from the top, and we eventually hit a steady state by turn 7. Because of that, I move Kieran up to bait Bryce and his squad to try and take care of them, but what I didn't realize is that they would all move down to fight us. This puts us in a pretty bad spot, as ASHNARD is going to charge down on turn 10. Our army really isn't strong enough to deal with them so quickly, so I retreat with Kieran and have Ike assist in tanking and killing these. We managed to finish off the generals and paladins, but at this point there are 2 red dragons left and ASHNARD charges right down at us. In order to survive this, I have a quick idea, and that's involving splitting the enemy forces. ASHNARD to the right, being baited by Ike, and the dragons down to the left to give us a chance. For some reason, we don't really question it and think that Enna can easily tank them, which makes sense, but apparently the dragons are just fast enough to double her, and she ends up going down immediately. This is like the 3rd or 4th unnecessary death of this chapter. At this point, the points don't matter, but it doesn't make the deaths any less painful overall. -25 more points to Jay. Because of this, the only person left that can now tank and fight these reliably is Kieran, so I decide to take full responsibility of this mission and bait them down to the left. While ASHNARD is busy on the right, Kieran is busy in the middle. On the left-hand side, Jay also sends Joffrey up to deal with ASHNARD's reinforcements, and I send the cat crew to assist him in what ends up being a very easy assassination mission for the trifecta. At this point, all that's left is for Ike to defeat ASHNARD and bring in Gifka for part 2. We basically have to land 2 Aether hits to get this done though, and the RNG takes us a while for us to do it. But on turn 17, Ike finally lands that second Aether to bring down ASHNARD. It's time for Gifka to enter the field, and this will make taking down Phase 2 much smoother. Because of ASHNARD's healing and high defense though, Ike is dealing enough damage to simply keep pace with ASHNARD's damage output. Gifka though, he does 15 damage per turn, which is a pretty decent chunk for us. At this point, it's just a battle of attrition, and eventually after many more turns, ASHNARD gets hit by Aether to bring him down to 1 HP. Now, Speedy's got control of Ike, and we all know that Speedy loves some risk and excitement and some gambling, so he decides to risk it all and attack him on player phase. If we miss this, Ike will die and the run is over, but if we hit it, we win.
If Ike misses this, it's game over.
Run it.
Yeah.
Run it.
Physic him first.
No, run it.
No. It's a 93, dude. It's 93.
Oh, fuck.
Absolute cinema.
Okay.
Can you imagine?
Guys, we did it.
I don't know how we actually got through that one.
Let's go.
We had no rate, actually.
And just like that, Path of Radiance co-op is now complete. Obviously, I'm the winner here with nearly 300 points, and if we do count all of the kills and all of the gold, I probably do cross the 300 threshold, but because it was just a pretty clear decision, we decided to just forgo all that and skip it. Jay ends up in second place for the first time, and Speedy in third for the first time, but the real MVP is the healed friendship we made along the way. This made us work together for those last few objectives to actually clear this run. Usually the goal of this series is to be a competitive one and sabotage each other, but it's always called co-op because the goal is to actually finish these games if we can. And we haven't failed one yet. We always coming together to clear the final boss and actually cooperating after just destroying each other during the run and honestly getting kind of frustrated with each other and bickering for real sometimes, but that's the true power of friendship. We're able to look past that. We're able to come together for one final showdown. I know everyone's really excited about the co-op ones, and I will never be able to promise when the next one is going to be, or if it's even going to happen in the first place, but we likely won't run another before Fortune's Weave's hype is over. But thank you all for coming along on this journey. I know not many people see these videos, but I know those of you that do are all very regular viewers who keep coming back to see my content. So, genuinely from my heart, thank you for sticking with me every week, leaving comments, coming to the streams, and just being a part of this community in general. Now, even if there's no more co-op content, I will try to find something to fill this upload slot for you all, but feel free to leave me a comment on what you'd like to see below, because I do read them all and I do consider your ideas. Otherwise, I hope you all have an amazing weekend, and I'll see you all in another video very soon. Peace.